Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. It's been a few hours since the experts in the transfer market, such as Fabrizio Romano and Gianluca Di Marzio, posted the news, the rumours, the official confirmed news that Roma have put DYBALA on the transfer list and that DYBALA could be one step away from a Saudi team. This is a kind of a colder reaction, kind of more of an analogy than a rant, because there are a lot of things which I personally, don't, please interact in the comments, let me know what you think, but surely I'm not the only one who's this perplexed about this situation. I am so confused. I normally try and link things together logically, but this makes no sense. And I think there are a few things which this scenario explain. There are a few scenarios which also explain this thing. And yeah, I don't want to repeat myself. I think the owners are to blame here because no serious football club, no ambitious football club sells their biggest player literally 48 hours before the league starts. It's incompetent, it's embarrassing, it's absolutely atrocious decision-making. And it clearly means that the owners, the manager, the sporting director and the CEO do not follow a straight path and that they reign amongst incoherence, as we said before. But I mentioned all of that in the hot video. The one where I was fuming, swearing and all of that. And I apologize. I still apologize about that. Now, the first thing that I want to do is context. Because I've seen a lot of divisions amongst the fan base, a lot of different opinions, and of course everybody will have their own story of why Roma have put him on the transfer market and everything. Now, the story that journalists like Gianluca Di Marzio have explained and that other sources are continuing to explain is very simple. DYBALA wants to stay and DYBALA wanted to stay. Roma, however, have communicated to him that he's no longer untouchable, that he is no longer at the center of this project, and therefore, to try and lower down the wage bill, get some money for future investments, they've decided to put him on the transfer list, hope that they can sell him, and they're kind of pushing DYBALA to look into these Saudi bids, to look into the money, to kind of think about this longer, because they don't consider him a top player anymore. And that's it, because if you want to sell him, you clearly don't consider him a top player anymore. I'm perplexed, I'm confused, because the thing which confuses me here is, why has this decision come up right now? This is what makes me mad. This is what makes me fuming. This is what makes me confused, perplexed, and ultimately irritated. Why have we come up? Why have the owners, the manager, and the sporting director come up with this hypothesis right now? Doesn't it destabilize the environment a bit? Doesn't it destabilize the team 3 days before the first game of the season, which we have to win? Otherwise, we're in the same boat as last year. Start bad, consequences at the end of the season. Why? Surely, if you think that DYBALA is no longer at the center of your project, if you no longer want to keep DYBALA because his wages are too big for a player who doesn't respect the appearances that he deserves, why are we coming up with this now? Couldn't we have come up with this in May, in June, in July? No, the 12th of August. Why? This makes no sense. This makes no sense. This is ridiculous. This is embarrassing from the ownership. And ultimately, the trigger to everything, it's not the trigger, it's what triggered what triggered the fan base here is De Rossi's words after the Everton game. De Rossi's words after the Everton game, somebody asks about DYBALA, and De Rossi goes, I don't start 11 players regarding transfer news. I follow my own managerial directions. If a player wants to leave, a player leaves. And that is where the doubts started to rise. That is where Roma fans started going, why is De Rossi saying this regarding to DYBALA? And I'm not saying De Rossi is wrong, because the concept, as I said in the last video, the concept of if somebody wants to leave, he leaves is true, but it does not apply to DYBALA. It doesn't apply to DYBALA. And this shows you something which is absolutely terrible, which is the manager is the puppet of the owners. This is a clear example that the manager is being controlled by the owners here. And this is so wrong, because managers who get controlled by owners don't go anywhere. And clubs with managers who are controlled by the owners, what they say, the ideas, players that they sell, players that they buy, aren't going to go anywhere. And this is bad. De Rossi is being controlled by the Fredkins, because the Fredkins want to sell him. I am not believing in a million years that De Rossi one day woke up and went, oh, you know, actually, we can sell DYBALA, yes. There is no way I am believing in this shit of De Rossi woke up one day, had a meeting with the Fredkins where they mutually agreed, actually, we don't want DYBALA anymore. There is no part of me believing in this, because I am not a fool. I am not an idiot. I don't have written on my forehead, coglione, idiot. We, Roma fans, aren't idiots. The Fredkins came up with this decision and they implied it on De Rossi. Because De Rossi kept on praising DYBALA last season. De Rossi kept on being surprised by DYBALA's talents and by DYBALA's technique. De Rossi literally said in multiple interviews last season how DYBALA was the player that any team wants, the player that any club would want, because he changes the equilibrium, brought him to a Europa League final with that goal against Milan. There is no way that De Rossi has woke up one day and decided to sell DYBALA. If this is the case, which I'm not believing, but if it is true that De Rossi decided all of a sudden, 3 days before the league starts, let's sell DYBALA, then one, De Rossi is an idiot. And I have no fear saying this. If there's one thing on Roma Theory that I'm not scared of, is offending people, offending the environment, offending the fan. What I try to do on this channel is speak the truth. And I love De Rossi. And I'm the first one to say, back him, keep him, because we've been changing too many managers. But if you were telling me, which again, I'm not believing in this, but if you're telling me that De Rossi woke up one day, yesterday, 2 days ago, before the Everton game, and went, oh, Dan, I don't want Paolo anymore, then he's an idiot. Then he's an idiot. I'm not scared of saying this, because he's an idiot. Because an emerging manager can't not want a player like DYBALA in his team. And I find this, I'm not believing in this, but I am believing in this factor and concept of De Rossi's being controlled, because this idea of we don't want DYBALA, we need to push DYBALA out because he costs too much and doesn't respect his performances and appearances because he's always injured, is an idea that has come up from Dan Fredkin, not Daniele De Rossi. Daniele De Rossi has been persuaded by Dan Fredkin to believe in this. Now, last thing here is, the owners are playing with us fans. The owners are being very disrespectful to us fans and very disrespectful to Paulo DYBALA. And I am defending Paulo DYBALA here because DYBALA wants to stay. DYBALA, however, is in a position where he is forced to consider the Saudi bid, even despite the fact that he refused it a few days ago. He is now in a position where he kind of is forced to say yes, because he's in a position where the owners, the manager, and the team don't protect him anymore, because they've communicated to him that he's not at the center of this project anymore. And I'm not saying DYBALA should have been at the center of this project, but not being at the center of this project doesn't mean sell him in 24 hours. No, very, very wrong. Very, very, very wrong. So, disrespectful to DYBALA because you do not communicate this to him 3 days before the league starts. You do not communicate to him this 3 days before the league starts. You just don't do it. You know what? If this scenario and this decision of selling DYBALA would have come at the end of May, I would have had problems because I like DYBALA and he's a massive player that we have to keep. But I wouldn't have been fuming. I wouldn't have attacked the owners. No, it's a decision. You decide to sell DYBALA in May because you want to pursue and believe in younger players. You want to change the project. Absolutely fine. But then why is it that nothing happened in the past months? DYBALA photo shoot. Oh, let me take a picture of DYBALA with a new jersey so that everybody can buy it. Use DYBALA because he's been used here. And then 3 days before the league starts, announce to him, Paulo, go find a team. We don't want you anymore. This is disrespectful to him, and this is disrespectful to us. You know why? Because the timing of this is studied. The Fredkins aren't dumb. The Fredkins are smart in a bad way. Because they've used our money. They've used us fans again. And again, and again, and again. Because I always say this, and I've been saying this for the past weeks. I've been protecting them after the Sully and Dovbyk because, you know, it's about waves. Right now, I'm in a Fredkin out wave. Right now, I'm in a Fredkin out wave because this is a mess. This is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment, and they've used us again. Set the season tickets out. Put the season tickets out. Everybody buys them. Enthusiasm. Peak of season ticket. Record of season tickets. Everybody at the stadium. DYBALA to watch DYBALA, to watch Sule. And then when everybody spends their money, a lot of money on season tickets, 3 days before the league starts, we sell DYBALA. Let me do this. This is studied because they're using us. Because if they had announced at the start of the transfer window in May or at the early stages of June that DYBALA was going to leave, not nobody, of course some people would, I would have, but they would not have gotten a record of season tickets. And therefore, a lot of that money wouldn't have gone into their pockets. Am I being honest here? Yes, I am. They've used us again. I still believe in Paulo, but I kind of don't believe in this situation anymore because I believe in the player. But the player is now being pushed. The player is now being pushed by the club to find a new team, to find a new club, and to get rid of him. And when a player gets pressured, the player will ultimately say yes. I will be very, very, very surprised if DYBALA would stay and be a Roma player this season. I would be very surprised because I trust Paulo. And look, some sources are already saying that Paulo has said no to their first bid. Paulo wants to stay, but the club wants him out. The club have stabbed him. The owners have stabbed him. The club have stabbed him, and they've stabbed us. That is the truth. And so when a player gets stabbed, when a player isn't protected anymore, when a player gets completely snubbed, then a player is forced to say yes. Because why would DYBALA stay in Rome to be a bench player if Roma don't consider him fundamental anymore? And all of this situation, 3 days before the league starts. A game which we have to win. A game which, are we going to win? I hope so. It's not going to be easy. Imagine the mind of all of the teammates. Mind of all of the teammates losing their best player, the player that they've relied on for the past 2 seasons, 2 days before the season starts. Imagine processing this. This is unfair, and this is a total embarrassment, and I will be never tired of saying this. They've played with fire with Mourinho. They've played with fire with DYBALA. That's 2 times. 3rd time, play with fire again and see what happens. We'll force you out because you do not care. You do not care about this football club. You do not care about this football club. And I've said this so many times, and this is the scenario which perfectly describes this. Because a serious club with serious owners, as I've said multiple times, does not sell their biggest player, their most fundamental and technical player, 2-3 days before the season starts, before our first official game. Who is going to replace him? Who are we going to buy? Bonkers. Absolute bonkers. I'm already tired and the season hasn't even started. Welcome to hell. Buckle up. Welcome to Roma Theory. Welcome to Roma. This is the life of a Roma fan. Hit the like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on this disgrace. And hopefully, I'm praying something happens and the club changes mind. I know there are other rumours which came out today. Boga, that Saudi right back that Roma are interested in and are apparently, according to Di Matteo, very close in buying. I personally do not care about these rumours today. I care about DYBALA because personally, I don't want to lose my biggest player right now. I wouldn't. It's a suicide move. But hey, Fredkins only care about money, so what can we do? Simo out.